From the moment we start understanding the world, we are encouraged to be kind, to share, and to put others' needs ahead of our own. But has anyone ever pointed out the possible dangers of being too generous and always willing to help? As we reflect on this, it's important to acknowledge that the kindness we give isn't always returned in the same measure. Some people are naturally selfless, offering not just their time and care but also financial assistance, often to the point of exhaustion, both emotionally and economically. This raises an important question. Can excessive generosity end up putting our own well-being at risk? It's interesting to think about how generosity can have effects that go far beyond simply helping someone. This leads us to consider the fine line between being valuable to others and ensuring our own stability. In a world where demands never stop, finding a balance is essential, so that kindness remains a positive force without draining those who practice it. Recognizing the limits of generosity allows us to understand our place in society while also safeguarding our physical and emotional health. That's why when thinking about the possible consequences of being overly giving, it's crucial to develop ways to offer help consciously and responsibly, ensuring a meaningful and sustainable impact on both our own lives and those around us. Be surprised by the unexpectedly terrible effects that kindness can have on you. Number 1. You will attract suckers into your life, but never people who are willing to share. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful perspective on relationships. The people who come into our lives often reflect the energy we put out into the world. Our thoughts, emotions, and attitudes create an invisible force that shapes our daily interactions. If we carry negativity, self-doubt, or resentment, we unknowingly invite people with similar mindsets. Individuals who feed off pessimism, complain often, and see obstacles instead of opportunities. Over time, these connections can drain our spirit, making us feel even more trapped in a cycle of negativity. On the other hand, when we cultivate a mindset of gratitude, resilience, and optimism, we attract people who share the same outlook, those who uplift, inspire, and support us. These individuals are full of energy, determination, and generosity. They don't just take, they also give. They don't just seek help, they offer it in return. The relationships we build in life aren't purely random. They are deeply connected to the way we carry ourselves and the energy we bring into every room we enter. However, there is a hidden danger in unchecked generosity. Giving without limits can leave us exhausted, depleting our energy and lowering our emotional state. When we operate from a place of exhaustion, we unknowingly attract those who take without giving back, people who see kindness as weakness and mistake generosity for an endless supply of resources. These individuals may not intend to harm us, but they can drain us emotionally, mentally, and even physically if we are not careful. This is why balance is key. True generosity should never come at the expense of our own well-being. When we learn to give with wisdom, setting clear limits and ensuring our kindness is appreciated, we create relationships that are not only fulfilling but also sustainable. In doing so, we protect our energy, ensuring that we continue to attract the kind of people who add value to our lives rather than depleting it. Number 2. You'll be in demand when people want something. Stoicism teaches us the value of wisdom and discernment in our daily lives, especially when it comes to choosing who we help. Generosity is a beautiful quality, but if we give without thought, we risk exhausting ourselves on people who don't truly appreciate our efforts. By practicing self-control and objectivity, we learn to distinguish between genuine people and those who only seek to take advantage of our kindness. The key is to direct our time and energy toward situations that bring mutual benefits, rather than investing in relationships that leave us feeling drained and unappreciated. At times, you may notice that people who once seemed like good friends gradually begin to exclude you from their fun activities. You're no longer invited out for a coffee, a weekend gathering, or even a simple conversation, until, of course, they need something from you. Suddenly, they remember your existence, not as a friend, but as a resource. And while this realization can be painful, it's also an important wake-up call. It reminds us that not all relationships are built on genuine connection. Some people only stick around for what they can gain. It's not always surprising when working relationships stay confined to the workplace. You may chat with colleagues, daily exchange favors, and collaborate well, yet you never receive an invite to informal meetups. While this separation between work and social life is normal, it still feels unfair when certain people only reach out when they need a favor. That's why it's essential to recognize these patterns and develop strategies to protect yourself from being used. Strategies that we will discuss in detail later. One of the simplest ways to spot these one-sided relationships is to observe what happens when the roles are reversed. If you find yourself needing help and reach out to these same people, you'll notice a sudden shift. They'll come up with excuses, delay their responses, or simply ignore your request. This is a clear sign that the relationship was never built on mutual respect. True friendship and meaningful connections should be balanced, where both people feel valued, not one constantly giving while the other only takes. Number 3. People just want you to give them something. According to the Stoics, true courage is not about meeting the expectations of others, but about making wise and virtuous choices. It's easy to believe that being kind and giving endlessly makes us better people, but real strength comes from knowing when to give and when to set limits. Moderation is key. It allows us to control our actions, make thoughtful decisions, and avoid falling into patterns that harm our emotional well-being. Giving should come from a place of balance, not from pressure or obligation. People are naturally creatures of habit. We like routines, familiar patterns, and the comfort of predictability. This is often called the comfort zone, a place where things feel safe and easy. But here's the problem. If you constantly give without limits, the people who receive your generosity will come to expect it. Over time, they stop appreciating your help and start depending on it. Without realizing it, you may create a situation where others feel comfortable doing little, simply because they know you will always be there to step in. When you dedicate too much of yourself to others, you risk losing sight of your own value. If you don't recognize your worth, why should others? It's easy to fall into the role of a personal Robin Hood, always prioritizing the needs of others above your own. At first, this might feel noble, but over time it becomes exhausting. You might even start to feel unappreciated, drained, or taken for granted. And the worst part? Many people won't even notice the burden you're carrying because they've become accustomed to you always being the one who gives. So, how do you break free from this cycle? By setting boundaries. Healthy relationships require balance, and balance means learning to say no when necessary. This doesn't mean you should stop being generous, far from it. But generosity should be sustainable, not something that depletes you emotionally, physically, or mentally. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's essential. When you practice self-care and set clear boundaries, something amazing happens. People start respecting you more, and your relationships become healthier. By ensuring that your kindness comes from a place of balance rather than exhaustion, you create a dynamic where both you and those around you can grow in a way that is truly meaningful. Number 4. You can create unrealistic ideas about people. The Stoics believed that true peace comes from accepting life as it is, rather than relying on the behavior of others to determine our happiness. When we depend too much on external factors, such as how people treat us, how they respond to our kindness, or whether they meet our expectations, we set ourselves up for frustration. The more we place our emotional well-being in the hands of others, the more vulnerable we become to disappointment. One of the most effective ways to cultivate emotional resilience is to help others without expecting anything in return. When we give without attachment, we free ourselves from the cycle of frustration and resentment. However, let's be honest, true selflessness is rare. Whether we realize it or not, most of us expect some form of reciprocity. When we go out of our way to support others, we hope that, when the time comes, they will do the same for us. But reality doesn't always work that way. People are naturally focused on their own lives and responsibilities. If you constantly step in to help, they may start to see your generosity as part of the norm rather than something exceptional. Over time, they assume you're capable of handling everything, both your burdens and theirs. From their perspective, if you're always the one offering help, why would they feel the need to return the favor? This dynamic can lead to exhaustion, frustration, and a deep sense of being undervalued. But here's the truth. People aren't necessarily failing you. They're just prioritizing their own needs, just as you should be doing for yourself. The real issue isn't their behavior, it's the expectations we place on them. Disappointment doesn't come from what others do. It comes from expecting them to act in a way that aligns with our desires. By adjusting our mindset and focusing on what is within our control, we can release ourselves from unnecessary suffering and embrace a more peaceful, balanced way of living. Number 5. You will be seen as a weak person and will be treated as such. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within. Building internal resilience and mastering self-control allows us to navigate life with confidence and dignity. By setting boundaries and practicing personal discipline, we send a clear message to the world. We respect ourselves, and we expect the same in return. This is how we earn the admiration of others, not by constantly seeking their approval, but by standing firm in our values and responsibilities. It's natural to want to help others. Generosity and kindness are valuable traits, and when you dedicate yourself to assisting those around you, you may become recognized as a source of wisdom and support. People may begin to see you as someone they can turn to in times of need. However, if you fail to set clear boundaries, your kindness can be mistaken for weakness. Instead of being appreciated, you may find yourself being taken for granted, with others assuming that you will always say yes, no matter the cost to your own well-being. But something remarkable happens when you start saying no with confidence. Instead of disappointment or resentment, people begin to respect you in ways they never did before. They start to see you as someone who values their time and energy, someone who knows their worth. Setting limits doesn't mean rejecting others. It means respecting yourself enough to ensure your kindness is not abused. It means choosing when and how to offer help in a way that aligns with your own well-being. By standing firm and expressing your needs, you show a strength that protects not only yourself, but also the relationships you cherish. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual respect, not one-sided sacrifice. When you learn to balance generosity with self-respect, you don't just gain control over your own life, you teach others how to treat you. And that is a lesson worth sharing. Number 6. You will arouse suspicion. Stoicism teaches us that acting with virtue is more important than seeking approval from others. When we choose to live according to our principles, guided by wisdom, integrity, and kindness, we build a true reputation that isn't easily shaken by unfounded suspicions. Our actions define us far more than the opinions of those who don't understand them. Living in a world where kindness is not always met with appreciation can be difficult. If you are a generous person, you may find that some people question your motives. They might wonder if there's an ulterior reason behind your actions or assume that you expect something in return. This skepticism often comes from past disappointments. People who have been deceived or betrayed before may struggle to believe that true kindness exists without an agenda. But it's important to remember that each person carries their own experiences and fears. Just because someone is suspicious does not mean they are unkind. They may simply be protecting themselves from further disappointment. Even in the face of doubt, choosing to persist in kindness is a powerful act. When you continue to act with generosity, you challenge prejudices and prove over time that sincerity exists. Small, consistent actions of goodwill can break down barriers, build trust, and change how others perceive the world. Every time you offer kindness without expecting anything in return, you plant a seed of change, not just in one person, but in the collective mindset of those around you. This doesn't mean that kindness is always easy. There will be moments of frustration, times when your efforts are misunderstood or even rejected. But true virtue is not about receiving validation. It's about doing what is right, even when no one sees or appreciates it. By maintaining a generous spirit despite resistance, you contribute to a world that is more open, compassionate, and understanding. Kindness is a force stronger than doubt. By staying true to your principles, you become an agent of change, inspiring others to believe in the power of generosity. And in the end, it's not about whether everyone understands your kindness. It's about knowing that you have remained true to yourself. Number 7. You can create an addiction. The Stoics emphasize the importance of balance and self-discipline in all aspects of life. They believe that true strength comes from maintaining control over our actions and desires. When we practice generosity with moderation and make conscious choices, we create a healthy relationship with our habits, ensuring they serve us rather than control us. However, when we lose control, our needs and cravings can spiral out of balance, leading us down a dangerous path. Whether it's excessive drinking, unhealthy eating, gambling, or any other compulsive behavior, the more we indulge, the harder it becomes to break free. Over time, these unchecked desires can turn into harmful addictions, eroding our well-being and sense of self. Often, the people closest to us notice these patterns before we do. A friend, family member, or loved one may try to warn us that we're going too far. Yet, our first reaction might be denial, frustration, or even anger. This resistance is natural. When we are deeply involved in a habit, we may not recognize its negative impact. But it's important to remember that an outside perspective can often see the bigger picture more clearly than we can ourselves. Those who truly care about us aren't trying to control us. They want what's best for us. Listening to their concerns with an open mind can be a powerful first step toward change. Even if the truth is uncomfortable, reflecting on their words can help us regain control before things escalate further. By accepting help, we not only protect ourselves from future struggles, but also open the door to continuous support, encouragement, and personal growth. Many people have already taken this journey and proven that real change is possible. If you're struggling with anxiety, depression, or any recurring challenges, I've left a video in the first comment that can help. It has already made a difference in the lives of countless viewers, and it could do the same for you. Click on it now and learn how to shield your mind like the Stoics, gaining the strength to live a full, balanced, and healthy life. Number 8. Your priorities will be completely ignored. The Stoics emphasize the importance of living wisely and prioritizing what truly matters. This means setting boundaries, taking responsibility for your own well-being, and making sure that in your efforts to help others, you don't lose yourself in the process. When you constantly put everyone else first, it's easy to neglect your own needs, dreams, and even your identity. True balance comes from knowing when to give and when to take a step back to care for yourself. Sometimes the habit of always focusing on other people's needs may actually be a way to avoid facing something painful within yourself. Have you ever noticed how you feel when you're alone on the weekend, or when you return home and there's no one there to greet you? If you fill your time with endless favors and responsibilities for others just to avoid silence and self-reflection, you might be running away from emotions that need attention. But no matter how much you try to escape, at some point you'll have to face yourself. And the longer you delay this, the more you might feel a growing emptiness inside. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's an essential part of feeling good, staying strong, and having the energy to fulfill your responsibilities with enthusiasm. Imagine yourself as a battery. If it's fully charged, you'll have plenty of energy to help others. But if you keep giving without ever recharging, you'll eventually run out of power. That's why doing things that make you happy and relaxed, whether it's exercising, reading, spending time in nature, or simply resting, is not a luxury. It's necessary for you to function at your best. Think of it like sharing a piece of chocolate. Wouldn't it be better to enjoy a bite yourself before offering it to someone else? Or imagine helping a friend clean their house while your own home is a mess. Wouldn't it be more effective to tidy up your own space first so you can offer help with a clear mind? The same principle applies to life. When you take care of yourself first, you have much more to give to others. So remember, prioritizing your well-being isn't about being selfish. It's about making sure you're strong enough to truly be there for others. When you feel fulfilled, rested, and happy, your generosity becomes even more meaningful. Now let's take a look at the techniques for stopping people from using you. Technique number 1. Setting aside time just for yourself is not a luxury. It's a necessity. The Stoics taught that self-discipline and self-respect are essential for a balanced life. And that includes making space for the things that bring you joy and inner peace. Whether it's practicing yoga, drawing, reading, or simply sipping tea while listening to your favorite music, these moments of self-care nourish your mind and soul. They allow you to recharge, reflect, and reconnect with yourself. However, many people struggle to prioritize their own well-being. It's easy to feel guilty for taking time for yourself when others are asking for your attention. But here's the truth. If you don't take care of yourself, you'll have less energy to give to others. Just like you wouldn't expect a car to keep running without fuel, you can't expect yourself to function at your best if you're constantly neglecting your own needs. That's why these personal moments should be treated as non-negotiable commitments. Schedule them into your day or week, just like you would any important appointment. If someone asks for your time during these moments, remember that it's okay to politely decline. Respecting your own time teaches others to respect it too. You don't have to justify or apologize. Simply say something like, "I already have something planned at that time, but I can help later." This sets a clear boundary while still offering flexibility when possible. If saying no feels uncomfortable, at first, remind yourself that prioritizing your well-being is not selfish. It's an act of self-respect. When you take care of yourself, you become more present, more patient, and more available for the people who truly matter. By protecting your personal time, you allow yourself to enjoy life without regret. And that, in itself, is a gift worth. Treasuring technique number 2. Don't be afraid to use the power of the word no. The Stoics remind us that our time and energy are valuable resources, and just like money or physical strength, they must be used wisely. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are in a way saying no to something that could truly benefit you. Whether it's rest, personal growth, or simply moments of peace, learning to set boundaries is not an act of selfishness. It is a way of protecting your well-being and making sure you can give your best when it really matters. The ability to say no when necessary is a skill, just like any other. It helps you stay in control of your own life rather than allowing others to dictate your time and priorities. When you decline a request that is unfair, overwhelming, or unnecessary, you are not being unkind. You are practicing self-respect. However, many people struggle with this simple word because it is often associated with rejection, negativity, or guilt. If you're someone who finds it hard to say no, you're not alone. It can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to always pleasing others. But think about it. Is it fair to sacrifice your peace just to avoid disappointing someone else? If you say yes to everything, you risk becoming exhausted, resentful, and even losing the joy of helping when you truly want to. One way to become more comfortable with saying no is to practice in front of a mirror. Stand tall, look yourself in the eye and say it firmly but calmly, "No, I can't do this right now." Or, "No, that doesn't work for me." This may sound simple, but by doing this, you start internalizing the idea that your needs matter too. Over time, setting boundaries will feel more natural, and you'll notice that people actually respect you more for it. In the end, saying no when needed doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you someone who values their own time, energy, and mental well-being. And when you protect your own limits, you create space for the things that truly bring you happiness and fulfillment. Technique number 3. Taking the time to listen to your feelings is one of the most valuable things you can do for yourself. The Stoics emphasize the importance of self-awareness, encouraging people to look inward and reflect on their emotions. Instead of simply reacting to situations, they believed in observing how we feel and why we feel that way. Your emotions are not random. They are signals, messages from your inner self that can help you understand what you truly need. This practice is especially important when it comes to recognizing emotional exhaustion. Life can get overwhelming, and if you're constantly giving your time and energy to others without checking in on yourself, you might not notice when you're running on empty. Feelings of irritation, exhaustion, or resentment could be signs that you're overextending yourself. It's easy to dismiss these feelings, telling yourself you just need to push through. But ignoring them for too long can lead to burnout, frustration, and even distancing yourself from the very people you wanted to help. Helping others should feel uplifting, like floating on a cloud. It should bring a sense of joy and fulfillment. However, if instead of satisfaction you start feeling drained, unappreciated, or even resentful, it's time to pause and reassess. Are you giving too much? Are you neglecting your own needs in the process? Your well-being matters, and recognizing when something is taking a toll on you is an essential step toward protecting your mental and emotional health. By listening to your feelings and respecting your limits, you create a healthier, more balanced life. You can still be generous and helpful, but in a way that doesn't leave you exhausted or emotionally depleted. The key is to find balance, to give, but also to protect your own energy. Because the truth is, when you take care of yourself first, you have even more to offer the world. Technique number 4. Recognizing the people who drain your energy and keeping a healthy distance from them is a vital step toward living a balanced and fulfilling life. The Stoics taught that self-discipline and discernment are essential in all areas of life, including relationships. Not everyone you meet will contribute positively to your well-being, and some people may even leave you emotionally exhausted without offering anything in return. That's why it's so important to assess the impact of your relationships. Are they lifting you up or pulling you down? By consciously choosing who you allow into your inner circle, you are not only looking after your emotional health, but also practicing the Stoic principle of personal control, ensuring that your interactions align with your values and well-being. One of the hardest lessons to learn is that not everyone wants to be helped. Some people seem to carry a cloud of negativity wherever they go, constantly complaining, focusing on their problems, and refusing to take action. At first, you might feel that it's your responsibility to encourage them, to offer advice, or to be the person who pulls them out of their negativity. But over time, you may notice that no matter how much effort you put in, nothing changes. The truth is, some people are not looking for solutions. They are looking for an audience for their complaints. Helping someone who refuses to take responsibility for their own life can quickly turn into an endless cycle, draining your energy while leading nowhere. Recognizing when your efforts are wasted is an important step in protecting your inner peace. Instead of allowing these energy-draining relationships to consume your time, focus on building meaningful connections with those who genuinely care about you and want the best for you. Healthy relationships are built on mutual trust, respect, and effort, and surrounding yourself with supportive, uplifting people will lead to a much happier and more fulfilling life. But to create these strong and meaningful bonds, you may need to identify and let go of destructive habits that are holding you back.